Hello, good morning and afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. My name's Ilana Rennert. I help manage outbound marketing here at SanDisk. And today we're going to be speaking about a use case and case study with one of our customers, our joint customer with Nexenta, GleSYS, on how they were able to go all flash to offer next generation services. And we will have time at the end of our presentation for Q&A, so please submit your questions at any time throughout the presentation. Just so everyone is aware, as smart as our guests are today, please don't take their word to make any financial investments. So we have put that behind us now. And without further ado, I will actually hand this off to Mike.
Thanks, appreciate it. So welcome everybody. I'm glad everybody was able to join us this morning or afternoon, depending on where you're at. So we've got actually a nice little panel of people today. As said, I'm Mike Letchin. I'm the field CTO with Nexenta. So I cover a lot of the product as well as sales and marketing side around us for Nexenta. But joining us today from SanDisk, we've got Dave Montgomery from product marketing. Dave, just say hi so somebody knows your voice.
Good morning, everybody.
There we go. And then coming in from GleSYS that we talked about, Andreas, one of the engineers with GleSYS. I'll give you a little bit more info on what they do here in a second. So say hello, sir.
Hello, everybody.
And then last but definitely not least is our buddy Johan from Layer 8. So I'm sure you all will very clearly know who Johan is. So say hello one more time, sir.
I would say good afternoon then, because in where I live, it's afternoon. So, hi everyone.
It's always fun when we do these across so many time zones. So, now I think right away as we get into this, before people are going to ask, well, great, there's service providers. Who are they? I mean, service providers can run a lot of different gamuts. So, Andreas, I'm going to actually just hand the ball over to you for a few minutes. Maybe ask a few questions along the way, but you want to give us some update? Tell us what GleSYS has been up to, who they are, and kind of what you guys do for a bit?
Yes, I will do my best. GleSYS is a public cloud provider based in Sweden. We actually have our headquarters in a small town around Gothenburg called Falkenberg. And we have a second data center and a small office in Stockholm. Data center might not be just as small as the office. We've been providing cloud services since 1999 and started off as a web hotel. And over time this evolved, and we quite early got around to offer virtual servers. And that's what we live of today. We provide a lot of virtual servers in a public kind of way. We've been profitable since day one.
You guys really are doing that combination. So you're making sure you're not only just providing, you're doing colo as well as providing out the virtual services and virtual machines now to a lot of your customers.
Yeah, we do everything around server hosting in different ways, be it virtual servers, dedicated servers, or server co-location. Profitable since day one, so we've grown organically. We did our first merger in last year, I think, so we bought a smaller company to add up to our network services. My colleagues and myself, pretty technical, so it's not that much fluff. It's a lot of tech and it's a lot of advanced and complex stuff going on, and we create cool solutions for our customers. We've been growing fast. We're at a fair today where I think half of the staff on that fair has been employed less than 3 months. We have 100% growth for the last 3 years, so it's going fast and it's going really well. And we've been working hard. We have a performance. When we think about performance, we don't necessarily say that, hey, you're gonna get a lot of performance. We think you're getting enough performance, you don't have to think about it. So no matter if you buy a virtual server, a dedicated server, or just co-location, we'll make sure that the network performance, the disk performance, the CPU performance is what you need. And we don't care about how much or how small you need. We make sure that you get it. And somewhere we think that you shouldn't have to choose between going virtual or doing a dedicated. They should perform equally. So if you buy a virtual server, that shouldn't be a performance trade-off. And being tech nerds, there's a thing about if we can do it, we're probably going to do it. Be that doing some crazy marketing or buying this all-flash InfiniFlash solution.
So really, I love that model. If it's out there, we're going to try it. We're going to see if that makes the customers ready to go. Why not jump at it and really give them so much that they don't even have to. They're not thinking, what's that next thing? It becomes the business decision. They're not having to worry about the tech. You guys are worrying about that to get the next thing and make it happen. So
exactly.
Where you mentioned you've been growing and you've got the few offices. Tell us a little bit about kind of where you're at as far as locations and where you're operating out of and things like that.
Yeah, so we're mainly based in Sweden, and we have personnel in Stockholm, Falkenberg, and Malmö, but we don't have any data center in Malmö, so we didn't take that up. Then we have locations in London and Amsterdam and New York for our international customers or for our Swedish customers that want to reach an outside audience or an audience abroad. Being a public cloud provider, we have gathered a lot of customers from around the globe. So at the moment, we're somewhere around 3,500 customers in 70 countries, and it's steadily growing. Even though a worldwide customer base haven't been a goal. We haven't actually worked for it, but people like our services, so we end up having customers all over the world, and that is actually quite nice. We build our entire platform ourselves, so we pick parts from vendors that we think will fit, and then we integrate them into our own platform to make sure that the GleSYS experience is that experience that you should get every time, no matter what virtualization platform you use, or if you buy a domain, a DNS domain, you get the same experience as if you buy a dedicated server or a virtual server or just a simple FTP archive. So we have this total control over the customer experience, and that's really important to us.
That's a really nice connection into that, being able to do it the way you mentioned in the last slide of we're going to make sure they don't have to worry about it. So it goes, again, for you, goes back to the customer really has the full experience, and they're stop having to worry about the tech side of it. You know that the experience is good. They're getting what you need. So for that, though, you've got to really drive into what the next generation of things are.
Exactly. So we just expanded the Stockholm data center as well. We just added 26 more racks. So now that zone, the second zone is full. That means that we have to build some more in the same location, and that will be nice. So zone 3 is coming up. And
so
we're
it's
also
a good problem to have.
Yeah, exactly. So we're enabling private networking to the cloud, which is new to us, enabling us to build cooler solutions and maybe more office solutions, perhaps not as where you don't want to. If you don't want to publish your entire infrastructure on the internet, you can buy the private networking as well. We're doing some improvements on the load balancing service during this year, and as a part of as we invested a lot in our storage infrastructure, we're actually going to build some kind of file share as a service thing, so you can share files and stuff. So that's some of what's coming up during this year and the coming months.
So as you're doing that, what is your what's the market that you guys? I mean, there's service providers. When we talk to them, that could be anywhere from the traditional, I'm just creating a website, to you mentioned some colo. Really, what do your customer base look like? What's the market that you're seeing that you're really driving your solution towards?
We're working with a lot of customers who have in-house IT know-how, and IT is in some sort. IT is a core business. I would say that a lot of our customers are doing e-commerce in some way, or they might be agencies reselling our services for their customers. And
interesting. So a lot of your customers actually are still, as where a lot of times we say IT isn't the business. For a lot of your customers, IT is the business.
Yeah. For most of our customers, IT is everything. If we can't deliver what we promise to deliver, 9 out of 10 times they will lose money, or they will have problems growing, or they will have a huge business impact. So reliability and performance is really a key for our customers. We are cloud native in some way, so we build everything around our cloud platform, and 55% of the turnover today is on the cloud. The rest is co-location of dedicated servers, because we're good at providing dedicated servers, actually. Everything is bought as a pay-as-you-go or pay-per-usage subscription type, and we bill per minute. So you can actually spin up a server, use it for 14 minutes, and then take it down, and you will only pay for those 14 minutes. And we have a full API that enables you to do this. We're also, as you're working with internet, a very natural way of evolving your business is going from having virtual servers and a lot of servers. You need networking, so we're providing more and more networking services, and using the network as an add-on and enabler for creating really cool server solutions, like Anycast solutions or multi-data center solutions. And being online and having worked with the internet for so long makes us have that networking knowledge where we can talk to other operators and other ISPs to create really cool stuff.
Oh, fantastic. So you're really looking at building into that software-defined model as well, both the networking side all the way across, and building your side as a software-defined data center, utilizing all the features of it, while still maintaining the componentry, the dedicated servers and everything with it as well. So with that, obviously, you have a lot of different spaces that you can play into. You mentioned that a lot of your customers are IT people. What industries do those fall under? Where do you see that you get your most traction? You mentioned a little bit on e-commerce.
Yeah, as I said, a lot of e-commerce. I don't know how many guys know about Magento, but it's one of the leading e-commerce platforms. We're one of the biggest providers of Magento hosting in Sweden. I think that 8 out of 10 Magento agencies work with us because of the disk performance. Magento is very database and I/O intensive, and our virtual platform makes it really easy to use Magento, and you don't have to think about performance bottlenecks and stuff. We have a lot of Internet of Things companies. They start out with a small infrastructure.
What does that mean? I think Internet of Things has had so many reasons recently. What do you guys consider? So for those listening that are like, okay, I've heard that term 12 times now. What's Internet of Things?
I think the best example I have, I don't know if you guys know about AutoMile, but they connect your car. They have a small device that you put into your car, into the diagnostics plug in your car, and then that plug reports stuff about your car to their system. And then you say that you have a fleet of cars, then you can track all those cars in the same pan, and you can see mileage, you can see speed, you can see location, you can stuff like that. For us, that is Internet of Things. They're connecting a car, which historically isn't always internet connected. They connect it to internet and give you a lot of value. So for us, that is Internet of Things.
I think that's a great example.
We also have a home automation company that they build some kind of, when you have a remote to turn on and off your lamps at home, they have a service that you connect your lamp to the internet, so then you can, when you're going home from having a beer on Friday, you can turn off the lamps or to tune in some nice music when going home or something.
It's always an important part.
Awesome.
And then you've got some other. I mean, obviously you've got kind of spreading. You're doing hosting, so there's obviously other groups whether it's web design, whether it's ads. So it really runs the gamut on some of the other ones. But really, you've been hosting primarily on the technology side of things. So now we kind of got through who you are. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing. You mentioned that the reason that these guys go with you specifically on e-commerce is you've got the storage side of things that is fast enough on your infrastructure. So how did you guys have obviously built from the start? You've got a lot of different pieces you've built into it. Obviously, we'll get down to the core here with NexentaStor in a moment. But what's been your process? How have you gotten to where you're at on storage side?
We've been building shared storage and storage solutions for a couple of years, and in the beginning we felt really brave and like, yeah, we're gonna build this ourselves. We're good enough to create storage ourselves. We don't care about what the vendors say. That's expensive. We can do this better. So we tried a lot of stuff. We tried running Linux with a nice SCSI daemon. We tried Linux and NFS and build our own failover cluster. We bought some stuff from other vendors, but all the time we realized that this isn't working. We aren't getting the performance we need. It breaks down all the time. We spent a lot of time troubleshooting stuff that we have no idea why it didn't work, but it didn't, and we didn't get the performance out of it that we needed. So with the Linux, with the IET stuff, we ended up managing like 25 white box Linux boxes with 10 terabytes of data, and we spent a lot of time managing those servers. And somewhere along the way, we decided that, well, maybe we're not good enough at storage to build storage ourselves. Maybe we should try buying some. So we tried out both solutions from Promise, and we tried out some EMC stuff, and it all came down to that, yeah, this is working, but we aren't getting the performance we need. It was reliable, but we didn't have any insight. Our guys needing a lot of training to understand it, and we never felt like this is the solution we need, and this solution is working for us. We never felt that with the previous solutions. So I think it was we met up with the layer 8, or we met up with Nexenta at, I think, VMworld Las Vegas or something, and we had a chat, and then we met up with layer 8 and had a chat about NexentaStor. I remember I was really edgy and say, you can deliver storage, but can you deliver storage as good as I want you to deliver storage? But they were persistent, and they promised me that, okay, give us a try and we'll deliver storage that is performant enough, that is reliable enough. So we're sure we're gonna make you happy. And that ended up us buying a hybrid solution, or our first NexentaStor hybrid solution. I was super skeptical at the beginning, but as time went by and the solution actually delivered what I wanted it to deliver, it grew on me, and today I'm looking at, when you look at different solution, I think, yeah, but it's not as good as Nexenta, something like that.
Well, I know you guys have been growing on a pretty significant per month growth rate. Obviously, you mentioned you've been 100% growth for the last 3 years, so storage comes along with that.
Yep. A big part of us growing in terms of both employees and in terms of data, capacity planning becomes really, really important, both to make sure that we keep our margins, but most importantly to make sure that we can deliver the amount of data our customers expect us to deliver, and to make sure that we aren't in a position where we grow out. We've grown so much that we can't grow anymore. That has been an issue in the past, but with the NexentaStor solution, we've found ways to handle this and make sure that we don't make it go full on alarms and stuff. So we're growing with somewhere between 2 and 4 terabytes per month, and I'm expected to pass 100 terabytes of active VMware data later this year, and that means us having to buy some more storage.
Well, and since VMware is a big portion of you, obviously the storage is specifically around VM. is a big component of you. So what were you looking at? What were the things that you specifically needed to qualify for that? You mentioned that you didn't have the flexibility, you weren't getting the performance. I love the adage of, well, we're IT guys that we thought we were smart enough, and then we realized maybe we should find something different on this component. You don't hear IT guys too often say, yeah, maybe we weren't that smart on that topic.
Yep.
So that's always a nice change. So what do you need for your VM storage specifically?
The biggest issue that we have, or the biggest struggle, is since we're a public cloud, we don't have any insight at all into workload I/O. We have customers who create a server, and then the server does nothing for like 36 months, and then month 37, it starts doing a lot of IOPS. And we need to make sure that this server, who's been idling for 3 years, can consume that amount of I/O that it needs. If that customer has to wait on data going hot in some tiered solution, or if they have to wait on, they have to access a file X number of times before they can actually get any speeds out of it, they will probably just shut down their servers and go somewhere else. So we need to treat all our data as primary data and keep it hot at all times. That has been somewhat of a struggle to make sure that we can do that. And we need to create a storage solution which in both price and performance fits all our customers. We don't have a differentiated storage offering, so we don't have gold storage or silver storage or bronze storage. We have storage that is super fast and super reliant, and that is what we have, and that is what we're going to deliver. So we need to have a storage solution that is able to deliver that. And since we offer, I think it's 600 terabytes on demand in our control panel and API, a customer can at any time of the day go in and create 10 servers with 600 gigs of data. So then we have to be able to harbor 6 terabytes of data at any time, or at least 1 terabyte per VM. So it's a lot. We need to be able to scale a lot of storage very fast, while we make sure that we have a high utilization on the system to make sure that we can keep our margins and stay being profitable. And as I said earlier, yeah, we're data nerds, but we're not that many. We're 25 employees. We have our special areas where we're good or great or the best guys, but we still need to keep the operational complexity down. We stopped using fiber channel because it went too complex. We stopped using iSCSI because it was too complex, and we just settled on NFS, and we built the simplest implementation that we could think of to make sure that it doesn't matter how you configure this switch. We need to make sure that we don't lose storage, and we need to make sure that the storage is always accessible. So to make sure that it won't be too hard on the ops to make sure that this works, we need to keep operational complexity down. And I think we've been pretty hard on that we need to keep this simple.
Yeah, I think that's the answer of, you mentioned you had started with some Linux ones you built yourself. Having that operational complexity down, also for knowing you've got 24/7 support and things like that, because guys need to take vacation every once in a while. You can't have one guy that knows it all, especially not in a small company where the guy can never go anywhere, can never get sick, can never go on vacation. So keeping that complexity down is obviously real key as you're building it out. And I know some of that has been helped. You've got a partner in your provider and your reseller that you worked with Layer 8. So while we've been chatting back and forth, I'm sure Johan's been chomping at the bit. So Johan, while you guys have been working with GleSYS for a little while now, tell us a little bit about Layer 8, and then we'll go from there right into why the combination with GleSYS and what they were looking at with both Nexenta and with the InfiniFlash from SanDisk.
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Mike. Yeah, and as you mentioned, we are the proud reseller and the certified partner of Nexenta that made this happen for GleSYS. We are a relatively small company founded in November 2010. We are just 6 people, but we are operating all over Sweden, which is a fairly tall country to cover. And our focus is 100% of smart data centers. We try to avoid the standard IT community, so we go rather with software-defined type of solutions and a lot of startup companies, and try to avoid the traditional legacy companies in storage and service and so on. We still need to provide some hardware because Nexenta is nothing worth without the hardware, or other software-defined solutions is also not giving any value without the hardware, but that is not that important to us. We have been a certified partner to Nexenta since the start, and I think we have around 3.5 petabytes in managed storage around Sweden, and many of our customers are service providers because they are early adopters of new technology, and they jump on it because they need cost-effective solutions to be competitive on their market. To look a little bit on IOPS, on the case we had with GleSYS, why they choose NexentaStor and InfiniFlash and so on. It started already in 2014 that Andreas mentioned, where we struggled to convince Andreas and his team that they should actually test Nexenta and see what it goes for. And as he himself said, he was happy he did, because it has proven itself a couple of times now. This hybrid solution was for the Stockholm data center. Now in late in 2015, we looked into a new storage platform for the Falkenberg data center on the west coast. And some of the requirements that was from GleSYS. Now you have to correct me if I'm telling something that is wrong, Andreas. But they wanted persistent performance. They wanted a low latency solution. They don't want any kind of penalty on tierings and so on. It was also important to be cost-effective solution. Small footprint and energy efficient was something that maybe came within the package.
Yeah. As any customer, we want a lot that we don't have to pay. We don't want to pay for it, as always. And as Johan said, the small footprint and the energy efficientness came as a bonus. Since we run our own data center, we had a lot of data center space and floor footprint. But it's now when we have it installed, it's actually kind of nice to see that we could do like a petabyte on 7 use rack units, and we can do less than 250 terabytes in like a half a rack. So yeah, when we have it, it's actually kind of nice.
And I also think that in GleSYS' mindset, there was not an all-flash array in your mind. It was more like, see, what kind of hybrid solution could we choose that give us maybe better performance and low latency, but still it won't be cost effective to get it in all flash. But since I think it was around VMworld last year when you met with both Nexenta and SanDisk on VMworld, you first got a glimpse of the SanDisk InfiniFlash, and there was a discussion around it, but you didn't know the price point and guessed it was most likely too expensive. But
I think that we actually met up. We actually met up with Nexenta to talk about site licensing, but we ended up buying a all-flash array instead.
Yeah. And we don't complain about that. but nevertheless, what GleSYS got in the end of it, they got a linearly scalable all-flash solution, and they have scalability both on performance and capacity. There is a sub-millisecond latency on the entire solution, and GleSYS is able to, without changing any pricing for the storage, as Andreas mentioned, they now charge the same for SSD, full SSD, as they charge for HDD. And it can grow up to 512 terabyte with the flash only, and just occupies 7U, and that is InfiniFlash together with the NexentaStor heads. And it's extremely power efficient compared to traditional disk or hybrid solutions.
So I know Dave's probably going to touch a bit as we get into the specifics on the InfiniFlash to get more details on the space and the power efficiency. I know at this point we've gone through a bit on what it is, and we've got a lot of people on that may or may not know Nexenta specifically, and kind of where the model is around NexentaStor. Just a little bit of kind of background for those people. Really, NexentaStor was developed to give you that best value proposition around storage without having the lock-in of hardware. One of the benefits there is things like the InfiniFlash. We're able to add in that cloud solution. It is a scale-up solution. So whether your choice of server vendors around some reference architectures, but then I know for one of the comments that Andreas made, you need to have multi-protocol support. Like you said, you had done fiber, you had done iSCSI, you're now on NFS. As things change, you need multi-protocol. So it's something that we provide, is having both block and file access on store, adding in even object with some new solutions we've got out with Edge, while still giving you all those enterprise feature sets. So these customers that you're presenting it to still want things like snapshots and clones, and it needs to integrate in with the environment you're using, whether it's VMware or OpenStack. We wanted to make sure that all of that is built in and combined together. With that, though, it's really making sure that NexentaStor provides the feature set you're wanting. And Andreas, feel free to jump in if there's one or two of these that really were key for you guys, because really being able to put this bare metal and then give that high performance NAS solution or over 10 gig for you guys as you're using it now with NFS, but of course you could have SMB, you could have CIFS presentation, as well as still having the block as well. You guys needed to be able to grow quickly, though, as well.
Yeah, a nice feature of the x86 platform, and that we could use commodity hardware, is we are able to use our regular server vendor to buy the NexentaStor servers. So we don't have to add another contact just to be able to deliver storage. So if one of the heads might break down, or we have an outage of some HBA or something, we could use what we already have in stock, because it's the same components that we already use in the rest of the data center. And that is nice, and that fits our way of working very, very well.
That's awesome. Gives you that extra flexibility, and obviously it can scale. We're going to get into how it scales with the InfiniFlash in a moment, but still also having some data reduction on the back end, so you're not having to provide as much physical storage, but still having the protection of it. The InfiniFlash, as we get into it, has 8 terabyte ICE chips in it, so having that RAID capability of multiple parity drives obviously helps. And then for multi-site for replication, it's also a component. But as we build that, Dave, you've been so quiet and listening to everyone. So I want to get you a chance to tell us about the InfiniFlash. And I mean, obviously Andreas and Johan have done a good job of dropping a few and stealing a little bit of your thunder. So hopefully you still get all your parts out here.
No, that's fine, Mike. Thank you. This is David Gumry. I'm the marketing manager for InfiniFlash at SanDisk. And Mike's got the slides. So as you said, Andreas and Johan and Mike have kind of given you some tips or hints on InfiniFlash. I've got a tiny number of slides on the hardware alone. This is probably the most hardware-centric portion of the webinar, and we've got plenty of time for Q&A later. Let me take a step back and say that the InfiniFlash storage box was designed for software-defined storage systems like NexentaStor. It was introduced over a year ago in March of last year, and at that time, Nexenta was one of probably the first partner we partnered with to get their software-defined storage product to use InfiniFlash. In a nutshell, it's a 3U package that can scale anywhere from 64 terabytes up to 512 terabytes or half a petabyte in one 3U package. It was designed for high density, high capacity, and high performance in a single box. It was really designed as a 15,000 RPM SAS drive replacement and a 10,000 RPM hard drive replacement, and to that degree, it's been wildly successful. I think it was either Andreas or Johan mentioned another benefit of Flash is it's extremely power efficient. Fully loaded under operation, it only consumes 450 watts for half a petabyte of storage, and because of obviously Flash, no moving parts, it has an extremely low failure rate. It's about 10 times more reliable than a spinning hard disk, and that can actually end up, depending on the software you're using, you can actually reduce the number of replicated copies you need and things along those lines. But it was designed for software-defined storage. It's designed to let you scale your storage independent from your compute nodes. And I think as Johan mentioned, or maybe it was Andreas earlier, you can use anybody's server with it. So if your IT organization has settled on or fixed on a specific server vendor, you can use that. You don't need any specialized x86 platforms to run on it. Here is my lone hardware slide. This is what the storage looks like with the sheet metal off. You can't really tell, it's kind of a small picture, but there are 64 cards in this chassis. Each card is in 8 terabytes worth of flash, and you can add those online. You can swap them online. It has redundant power supplies, redundant fans. It even has redundant bus expanders for high availability. So it really was designed for enterprise and cloud operations. You can direct attach up to 8 servers to it. So the back panel would show you 8 12 gigabit per second SAS connectors. So you can essentially use this as direct attached storage to your servers if you want, or you can share it just among a couple of servers if you like. So it was designed for exactly what GleSYS and Nexenta are using it for in terms of cloud storage, high performance, high density, power efficient. So to kind of sum up the storage part of this with NexentaStor, I think as Andrea said earlier, very low latency. It's very common to get under a millisecond depending on what your application workload is. I've already mentioned the density and space savings. Obviously, the capacity is unmatched. If you want to rack a number of these, you can get up to 6 petabytes of storage in one standard 42U rack. And if you compare what 6 petabytes of spinning disks would take, it really is probably 10 or 15 times denser in terms of your data center savings. And the final note, and then I'll turn it back over to Mike and Andreas, is that the reason we can offer this product is because SanDisk owns its own fab. We make the NAND chips. We don't buy them on the open market. So we can produce this product and we can essentially sell it at the same price as a 15,000 RPM SAS drive because of that. And so it's one of the reasons the product has been so successful is because it's, as I said, dense, efficient, and essentially competes with spinning disks as far as price goes and greatly outperforms spinning disk media in virtually all applications. So that was your go on, Mike.
I think one thing that gets overlooked sometimes, I mean, you mentioned the space and energy savings. Slight anecdote, I was talking to a customer at one point, and their comment was they needed something that they could plug in a conference room. And if you think about it, plugging in a half a petabyte worth of storage in a conference room and thinking you're going to be able to actually have a conversation, and it actually power off of that plug and everything is just unheard of for the most part, where the InfiniFlash really gave that capability to be able to do it. because it didn't require so much power. And I know for GleSYS and for Andreas, the difference of keeping that cost down when you own your data center is dramatic.
Yeah, and in fact, we can work with Nexenta, and we have a very rigorous cost of ownership modeling tool that if you're interested in it, talk to your Layer 8 or your Nexenta folks. You can plug in what you pay for power in your local region, what you pay for floor space, et cetera, and we can show you that in very, very short order, the cost of ownership of a dense flash system like InfiniFlash with NexentaStor can really, the TCO is so much lower than spinning disk systems, it'll surprise you. That was really it. Mike, I'm not sure who's up next. Let me move the slide.
So I think, we jumped 1 too many there.
I'm sorry.
There we go. So actually we jumped to, we're bringing Andreas back I know now we've kind of gone through what Nexenta is, how Layer 8 had helped you get there, where the InfiniFlash plays. I know you guys had the hybrid array you mentioned first. You've now put in an InfiniFlash system as well. You've been running both, and your whole mantra at the beginning was you don't want the customer to worry about performance. And it's hit the marker. I know you were hesitant in the beginning for NexentaStor you mentioned. So has that done what you needed to do?
Yeah. You could talk. I could probably talk a lot about gains, not in the gym fashion of gains, but gains in operational efficiency. Yeah, we're running both a hybrid system and an InfiniFlash system, and for me, it has been really. I've learned a lot about looking on those two systems and see what they do and how they perform, and how I know how hard it is to manage a large disk system and make sure that I can expand this without it going down or without affecting performance and stuff. And the best way to measure how successful this storage enable or this storage implementation has been is to look at how many complaints have we had on the InfiniFlash system. And at the moment, it's 0. We haven't had one single customer that have come to us and say, hey, my VM is performing badly. My VM is slow and the disks aren't performing as expected. Not one single customer. And we have 3,500 customers. So there's a lot of opportunities to complain and to say, hey guys, you aren't doing what you promised to do.
And people are not shy about it, so that's always a nice testimonial.
No,
so
they're not shy.
I know with that, I know we've got a little bit of actual performance data to talk about. First, starting with the hybrid system. So this was some stats you guys pulled off of your system, right?
Yeah, this is actual data that I put out of our graphing system. This is normalized data stored latency pulled from the VMware DRS. So this is what the VM actually see. This is the hybrid, and
so really, I mean, that's even on the hybrid. I mean, you're getting decent IOPS out of it, depending on. I mean, obviously, you add more disks, you get more IOPS on it. Even on the latency, I mean, you're sitting 2 to 4. I know you guys have actually. This was a slightly over. If you guys have done an upgrade since, and you tell me you've got some better numbers even.
Yeah, we did an upgrade and some patching a week or 2 ago, and I think that the latency curve actually got smoother, and we dropped about a millisecond in average latency just by patching.
So I mean, I think that goes right to that software-defined model for sure. Like you don't have to worry. The hardware's there. Obviously, hardware matters to us. So being able to change a little bit in your software and be aggressive, be up to date on it, you can see a big difference. You mentioned smoothing it out. I mean, Flash is definitely something that has that advantage. So looking at some of your data on your InfiniFlash system here, gives the group of. Yeah,
this is the InfiniFlash, and it's performing. It's a more linear graph we're somewhere around 2 milliseconds. We did some tuning, and now I would say that we're somewhere, I think that we dropped like a half millisecond. So if we would look at this graph today, this is about a month old. If we would look at this graph today, it would probably say somewhere between 1 and 1.5 milliseconds.
So and obviously every marketing slide, both us and SanDisk and layer 8 coming, we can put out there and say with every storage thing, you're sub-millisecond, you're almost, this is nice. These are real world. This is active on your environment. This is what you're getting today. So there's no real question there on it. So I think that kind of wraps up most of what we wanted to get through. Looking to see if we've got some questions here. I've got one here actually for GleSYS, for Andreas. The question came up that you guys had started kind of rolling your own. What really, now you said you saw some performance benefits, but why did you decide to go with something that was still a reference architecture, a software defined versus the traditional big box?
We tried the big box, and as I said, we're a fairly technical company, and my colleagues are fairly technical or very technical, and just managing that big box required a lot of training. So since Nexenta is more or less Linux userland, and a lot of my colleagues they're great at Linux, it has been so easy to actually smooth them into the software-defined or in the Nexenta solution. That was a part of the decision that it will be easy to manage, and we can make sure that everyone in the company know how to manage this. Another part was there are no real constraints on how big we can grow this system. We can continue to grow. We can add more and more disks if we need to. There is virtually no stopping on how big this can be, and that was a big part of the decision.
So I think the only other question I see actually is for Dave on SanDisk with this. So you guys are known a lot of times in the consumer space. This is definitely different than what a lot of people know SanDisk for on the enterprise space. So is this something you guys have been developing for a while? And give us a little bit of background on the SanDisk data center space.
Thanks, Mike. Sure, and I probably should have said that at the introduction. As Mike mentioned, everyone knows SanDisk for our memory sticks, our memory cards for cameras and things like that. And in fact, in that consumer product space, it's an interesting bit of trivia that we ship over 2 million cards and memory sticks a day worldwide. It has a huge global market share in that space. About 5 years ago, SanDisk wanted to get into the enterprise flash space. We thought it would be a good opportunity, and we could provide some real value for high-performance flash storage. So over the last 5 years, we've developed a product line of SATA SSDs, SAS SSDs, PCIe flash cards, and then now it's been about, well, we've introduced it over a year. It was a couple years in development. Now the InfiniFlash storage box that you heard me describe earlier. So we have a very, very large business in the enterprise flash space. And in fact, we OEM to almost all the major server vendors, and we sell products like InfiniFlash, with our own label on them, along with companies like Nexenta. So it's a very, very large business for SanDisk. I didn't talk at all about the portfolio of SSDs, SAS, SATA, and PCIe we offer, but I'd encourage folks just to jump to sandisk.com, Data Center Solutions. You can find it from the top web page to find out more about those products as well. Thanks, Mike. It was something I completely forgot to mention.
So I think that brings us almost to a close here. We'll make sure that we can pass this out. You can see this on the recording, and obviously if you have more questions, definitely contact us either at the Twitter handles you see here, or check out the website, and we'll get you guys any more info. So thank you all for joining us today, and hopefully everyone has a great rest of the day. Thank you for all the panelists as well.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.